Well, hello, I'm Chris Brogan. I am CEO of Owner Media Group. Welcome to this, which is a plan called Build a Solid Offering. I should tell you that I did this live last night and broke somehow because of our friends at GoToWebinar. Had a bad day there, I guess. So I'm re-recording it from scratch. So if you were on this thing live last night, you got a slightly different version of the presentation with a little bit more live back and forth. But now that you get this video recorded after the fact, which is always a great option, you get the nice clear version. So here's what we're covering today. The goal that we're going to handle in this particular offering, this plan, is that you're going to create and improve your offerings, those things that you sell, that you can improve your chances of selling them. I've come to learn through my experience. Oh, that's actually something I should bring up on screen. Hang on, let's get there. I can tell you that one of the things that I've learned is through having a survey with people, I found that one of the biggest things that people were having a challenge with were their offerings. Just about 18.9%, which is the third most of the things that people said they wanted to work on in 2016, was their offerings, what they sold, and they need to get a little bit better at it. And so that's why I launched this. It's because you asked for it. So thank you so much for being part of the owner experience. Thank you if you're an unlimited or an insider subscriber. And if you just purchased strictly Build a Solid Offering, this is the kind of stuff that you can look forward to every month, a couple of times a month from Owner Insider or Owner Unlimited. All right, here's what we are going to talk about today. The wins. When you're done with this plan, you should have a better starting point, the mental stuff that's involved in selling and making good offerings. We'll talk a little bit about surveys and how that works for you. We'll talk about your offering itself and how to break it down, what we should be looking at, and some of the components of an offering. We'll cover sales copy, how to write it a little bit better. I'm not the best sales copywriter in the world, but I've learned a lot and I can teach you what I know. Pricing structures, which is a lot of people when I said last night, we're going to talk about pricing structure, the screen on the webinar went good. Oh, great. Thank goodness. So evidently pricing is important. Upgrade paths for your products and services. And then I'll give you a couple of launch templates. All right, let's start with the mindset. So I will tell you, one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of people's offerings, a lot of people's attempts to sell something, is that there's a confidence problem that's causing a problem right out of the gate with the whole offering. Meaning, a lot of people spend a lot of time explaining why they are the person of record, why they are the important one, why they should be the person referenced, and why they're good enough or qualified enough to teach you what they know. It's important to have some kind of credibility. It's important to have some sort of, you're smart and there's a reason why people should learn from you or do something with you, etc. If you're a surgeon, I want to know that you went to some really great schools and that you did well at them. If you're an airline pilot, I want to know that you have lots of miles and, only minor accidents, but there's a lot that people put in their offerings, especially when they try to represent themselves online, that gets in the way of making it useful for someone to buy. One of the challenges is that the more you put confidence problem language inside of your sales page, the more you can run into a challenge. I'm going to show you an example of this. I showed this at one point last night, so I'll probably show it a couple times tonight. With regards to one of my own offerings, Start Podcasting. So this is a small little, I think we sell it as I think it's a plan. So Start Podcasting is one of our plans, and it started right at the very top with, have you been thinking about starting a podcast? Right out of the gate what I'm offering there. But when I go down to the part about confidence, I want to show you the only piece of this page that is self-referential in that way. One of the things I see is this. Join me, Chris Brogan, podcasting since 2005 and co-founder of the PodCamp Unconference series. That's it. That's the only piece of information I put on that page that tells you why I think I'm qualified. And it is not because I'm Chris Brogan. It's because that's all I need on the way to making sure you know that you've got the right person. Most people, when they're looking to learn something or buy something or get something solved, they're not asking for the moon. They're not asking, wait a minute, how do I know this is the right product? I'm looking over at the side of my desk and just randomly, this is kind of a mess, but why would I do something easy when I could do it hard? This is a really small, and this is just a box because the projector is a little far out of my reach. This is a very small projector for shooting stuff off your laptop or whatever onto a wall or something like that. So I use it portably. I can throw up a presentation really quick and easy with just that little projector. I never read too many credibility of the company. I've never heard of Pico or Pico. Optoma is the name of the brand of the thing. I don't know what it is. Nothing on the outside of the box says somebody thinks this is awesome. It just tells me what it does, and it tells me how it plugs in. That's what people are looking for when they want their solution. If you're looking for a fly fishing retreat in Idaho, you want to know, is the rest of the corporate team, is the rest of the senior team going to be okay with this? Are they going to be happy with this choice? That's what people are looking for. So right out of the gate, confidence is one of the challenges that you're going to run into. Next, I want to point out that another mindset challenge that a lot of us have is that selling isn't bad. Bad selling is bad. And so we run into this problem a whole lot where we've had some bad experiences with somebody who's sold in a bad way, and it makes us feel like sales is a bad pursuit. What happens a lot of time in sales is when we get hungry for making some money, we get a little desperate and we start asking people to buy something that's not the right fit for them. And no one really likes to be sold to, although we all love to buy. If there's something you're interested in, you go out and you look for it. I needed, very simply for doing live video from my phone, I needed a little tiny stick kind of a thing. This is just something random sitting by my desk too. So I said, oh, okay, this it says it fits my phone, a Samsung Galaxy S, whatever it is, S6. And there you go. And that's all I needed to do. I liked buying this. No one sold it to me. I just said, oh, I need one of these, I'll buy it, right? But if somebody came and knocked on my door and said, hey, do you need one of these Galaxy S6 supported phone cover thing? I would have said, no, I don't know. I don't know why I would need one until I did, right? So the goal is when someone's getting ready to go looking for something, you want them to find you. And when they do, that's you helping them with something. No matter what you're selling, it's hopefully in the service of somebody else. It's not just for your own benefit. That's not really sales. That's more like charity. So selling isn't bad. Bad selling is bad. Now, the other thing to remember, sell from the buyer's side. I just looked over here because I was wishing I could find Same Side Selling, which is a book by my friends Ian and Jack. Same Side Selling is a great business-to-business version of that. But the whole idea is that you've got to sell from the side of the fence that the person's on. When you go to start podcasting again, this is just, again, one of my plans that I offer. It says, have you been thinking about starting a podcast? The podcasting renaissance is upon us. Lots of good news, but podcasting seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? So I'm dropping into people's thoughts. Maybe you've been thinking about this for a while, but you get bogged down in the mechanics, blah, blah, blah. We've got a simple plan. So I'm selling from the buyer's side of the story. It's not like I'm really smart about podcasting. I know a lot about podcasting. I can teach you about podcasting. I talk about that a little bit more below, but you'll see it. If the offering isn't clear, there isn't really a sale. Meaning, if people don't understand what they're buying, then they're not going to buy. If you make it confusing or challenging for them to make a purchase, they're not going to buy anything, and that's a challenge. Also, if you're selling to everyone, you're selling to no one. This one's kind of a new piece of language that I've been pushing for maybe the last year or so. And my point is that we really need to sell to the right people. We need to sell to the people who are whatever we're selling resonates with. And not everyone is the buyer. If you sell Ford cars, the reason that there's a line of Ford cars is because some people are Mustang buyers, some people are Focus buyers, a lot of people are Ford F-150 truck buyers, right? So you have to sell the right product to the right person. If someone says, I'm a new father and I need to get a car that's going to support the addition to my family, there's two ways you can go. You can push them towards a minivan, or you can get them a four-door Ford F-150. What you probably don't do is give them a Mustang, which, as I'm starting to make up that story off the top of my head, I'm laughing because I bought a Camaro when my kids were pretty young. So evidently I'm the right person to sell that car to from Chevy. But anyway, if you're selling to everyone, you're selling to no one. So to combat all this, let's look at some real actions. And these are actions you can take. This is really important. Let me pause for a second. If you are involved in taking this plan, if you are an owner insider, an owner unlimited person, or if you just bought this thing, just one and done, build a solid offering, this is where you take action. This is the part where, this is why you bought it. You didn't buy it to listen to me and see my beautiful head. You bought it because you're saying, I need to make my business work better. So here's what I want you to do. These are 4 actions you could take. There's going to be more. These are 4 actions I want you to take. Now this download, by the way, this text you see here, there's a file right down below this video. Just click that and you can download it. You don't have to watch the screen really vividly unless you just love my beautiful face. All right, for confidence, I want you to go back and strip your page of all the defensive language. There's kind of really only one page where you want that kind of language to be, and that's in About. In your About page on your website where it talks a little bit about you, then you can try your best to get a little bit of bragginess on it. So for instance, mine says, I'm CEO of Owner Media Group, where I provide simple plans and projects for business success. Right there, I've already started the sentence, the very second part of the first sentence, by saying what exactly I do for you. Then I say he's also a highly sought after professional speaker and the New York best-selling author of 8 books in counting, including his forthcoming book, which is no longer true. I have to pick the new title. And then it talks about brag, 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 brag. That is the only place where you want that confidence. Look at how none of that confidence is written into the Start Podcasting. It's just basically, we've got a lot to cover. Don't worry, I can help you. Come get some. And that's the difference. So that's the first thing I want you to do is go over your stuff, go over your sales page, your sales letters everywhere, and start pulling out confidence language. Start pulling out language that's showing your lack of confidence, and instead be bold in saying, I'm here to help the buyer. So next part of that, the buyer's side. This is where you start looking at the language of your offering. Are you selling hypnotherapy? Or are you helping people lose weight? If I said I'm some kind of online digital marketing expert and I want to sell my online digital marketing expertise, people would say, oh, that's weird. I'm not really in the market for online digital marketing expertise. What they might say is, I've been thinking about starting a podcast, because that's the buyer's side. So the same thing. If I'm looking to lose 30 pounds, I don't care if you do hypnotherapy. I'm looking for a result. And is this hypnotherapy going to get me to the result? Super. Help me understand it. So that's that very specific example of hypnotherapy came from a real person who said, I'm having trouble selling hypnotherapy. And I said, that's because you're selling hypnotherapy. Sell weight loss, sell whatever, sell, improved focus, sell something that's really tangible and make it outcome-based selling. Outcome-based selling means by the end of this, you'll be able to do this. Look at what it says at the top of this page. You will create or improve your offerings so that you improve your chance to sell them. Here are the wins. Put more wins on your board is not just a motto that I've been saying. These are the wins. When we're done, you're going to have a better starting point. I'm going to teach you how to put together a survey. I'm going to have you work on your offering, etc. So do the same when you're selling. Make sure that your selling language is outcome-based. What are they going to get? What finished product are they going to get? Now, by the way, Alex writes fiction, and Alex said, I want to just, make sure I'm serving people the right way. So the part that I helped Alex with was surveys. And, not every single piece of this will apply directly to what you do, but the whole goal is, how are you going to make more money and how are you going to get more success handled? And this is one of the ways, is through building a solid offering. All right, next, clarity. If someone was not in your industry, do they understand what you're selling? By the way, I'm going to change this right now. Let's see. I'm going to type it right now. If someone, because I was going to say, if someone were not in your industry, would they understand what you're selling? Do you know why I did that? Because it wasn't clear. Now, by the way, it sounds almost like I did this as like a fun example or something, but no, as I was trying to say it out loud, it didn't make sense to me. And I said, oh, I have to clarify that sentence. Ha! The irony. The sentence on clarity wasn't clear. Now, for your actions, go look at your stuff that you're offering. If someone weren't in your industry, would they understand what you're selling? Is it important that someone not in your industry understand it? How do we make it easier enough for newcomers? Would a kid understand what you're selling? Another confidence challenge people have is that they like to use really big words and big process explanations to explain what they do because it makes them feel like they're a lot more of an expert and that they're really important and that what they are doing is a big deal and you should give them money for it. And I get that. I understand the fear that someone's going to think what you do is dumb. I've long since gotten over that. I tell everyone out of the gate that I'm pretty dumb, and then I help them make money, and then they give me some of their money. That's what I do. Look at how I explain that. I help them make money, and then they give me some of theirs. Done, right? That's all 2-syllable or less words. All right, specificity. That's a funny word to say out loud, by the way. You should pause the video and just say specificity, and then kind of giggle at the way it makes you feel. Does this offering resonate with people? This is sort of the I'm a lot like you issue. So here we go. Let's go back to start a podcast for a second. I'm just picking on this one because it's in front of me. Let me see. Maybe I'll make this text a little bigger. All right. Maybe you've been thinking about this for a while, but you get bogged down in the mechanics of it all. Perhaps you've even bought some gear, but you're stuck with how to integrate it. I'm sure you don't want to waste your time and find yourself creating more work with little to no return, blah, blah, blah. So here I am. Join me because I can walk you through this and I can help you with all these different things. Yes, there's a lot to cover, but we can handle it. Join me. I'm here to help you. What you're trying to do is make sure that people understand that, this is specifically what you're giving them, but you're also making sure, does it resonate with you? So I'm asking the questions, this seems like a lot of work. Has this been hard for you? Are you looking to, understand how to use the software? Do you need to learn how to record different types of shows? Do you need to understand editing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm really specific on what you're going to get. By the time you're done with this plan, you're going to get that podcast launched. If you do the stuff in this plan, if you do the stuff and build a solid offering, your offerings are going to be better. So the specificity is, look at the top again. This is what I said you're going to get. That's what you get. That's what you're trying to work on. And anything you sell is your stuff specific. That's your homework for you. All right, segment 2 of this little plan, we're going to talk a little bit about surveys. One way to make surveys work, I will tell you a little bit about my experience with surveys. First, I got to tell you, Michael Stelzner, who is a lot more known now for social media marketing world, used to do a lot of stuff with white papers and surveys. And he gave me a lot of my first good thoughts about using surveys and why I should consider doing it. And I think it's important to give him a nod. And before you ask me, yes, I've also heard of the book Ask by Ryan Levesque. He and I talked on the phone for a little bit. A really smart guy. And I agree that I think a really good survey can be really helpful. When we talk about surveys, what I want you to understand is that sometimes you might have a different answer to what you think you're selling versus what people need you to sell. If you have people who are on your email list, if you have a way to reach people, if you have a way to ask people to take a very quick survey, and it must be very quick, it gets really interesting. So I asked a question to a whole bunch of people, and I said, hey, if you get a little time, I'd love for you to just take a quick survey and give me your feedback on what you think is your challenges for 2016. And so I asked them if they could give me 3 minutes for a survey. And the way I made sure it was 3 minutes of a survey is I made the questions very specific. I made them that you could, pick one on some of them, check a few boxes on another. And there was only one fill it out kind of a survey. I don't waste any time on superfluous information. I don't ask for their first name and email address for this survey. I just want them to fill it out. It's fine if it's anonymous. Yes, it can mess up the data, but my friend Tom Webster, who his job is partly at Edison Research, where he does lots of stuff there. He said, surveys are so horrendously inaccurate anyway, unless you're a really trained expert. So don't spend a lot of time worrying about that. Hi, Tom. The sun is shifting in the winter skies as I'm recording this, and holy cow, it's blowing through here, and I'm going to go blind soon. So in this survey, my survey is not your survey, but I asked some really simple questions. In this case, it was sort of a pick one sort of an answer. In the next one, it was kind of basically tell me all the things you want to change, tell me what's something you can quit, etc. Now, in doing this, here's what I want you to know about surveys. Oh, I could close that window. Make sure that the survey has clear and obvious goals to what you're asking and why. If you bother people with who's your favorite Game of Thrones character and you don't sell whips or swords or something like that, then you've wasted their time. So don't do that. Instead, make it that your survey really relates to their challenges and their needs, but in a way that's going to help you both. Make sure that you can give them brief and simple to answer questions that will guide you, but also help them think. If you realize what I've done in my survey here is I ask questions that should be interesting to them. So I asked people like you, I asked you because you're on my list. In 2016, my number one priority is it personal leadership? Is it systems? Is it focus? Is it offerings, etc.? And then I said, what's holding you back? You could check all of these that you want. That was interesting too. What's something you can quit in 2016? Now this is interesting. I'll explain it a little ahead of time. I'm asking for some commitments here. So even though this is a survey is just supposed to be you filling out something really quick to give me some information. Look what I asked. What's something you can quit in 2016? Now look at the next question. It's even more like that. What's one commitment you can make in 2016? See how this works? Now, don't copy these specific questions unless that relates to your business somehow. But what you can do with those surveys is you can ask questions that are going to point towards your potential solutions, but not necessarily so hard. Meaning, the survey shouldn't be why a Big Mac is the best thing in the world if you sell Big Macs. The survey should be, what is your meal planning scenario like right now, and where does fast food fit into it? I don't know, I'm making it up. But your questions are going to be sort of something that's going to help them grow a little bit, but that's going to help you understand them. And also that kind of guides people a little bit towards what's going on. I also say in this that you should have the option for at least one, but not too many, open-ended paragraph types of answers. My last question was, what will make 2016 different from the previous years? And people said, really kind of simple things, but I don't care. They said what they wanted to say to me. They'll take better aim. They'll have clearer direction. They'll work on the right stuff. They'll stay focused on priorities. They're more focus and action. Every year is different. Why should this one be any different? That's a great question, because my question was what will make it different from this year? So anyway, what's interesting about these to me, and here's why should this year be any different than the other years? Chris Brogan. So I'm going to make it different. The reason that you allow for at least one open-ended question is that someone can say something. Someone spent that one answer to give me something snarky. Someone else spent that answer giving me a lot of detail, like a big, huge, I'm going to plan and implement. I'm going to do my 3 words. I'm going to do more stuff with content marketing. So there's a lot here. So, look at how many people wrote focus in a row. A whole bunch of people wrote focus. So that's all interesting information to me, but giving people the open-ended answer thus gives me the chance for people to tell me something that wasn't on the survey, but without kind of prodding them for that. So that's why you want at least one open-ended question. You should use something quality for survey technology that lets people understand the responses and the data. So SurveyMonkey is a good tool. You pay for SurveyMonkey. Google Docs has its own tool. You go to drive.google.com and you can select File, New, and then it's usually hidden under More, New Google Forms, and kapow, it's that easy. And it looks that easy and simple and clean. You can change the colors around, obviously, like I had done. You can make it, what kind of questions you want, multiple choice checkboxes, drop downs, multiple choice grid, which I don't even know what that means, but maybe someday I'll try it out, a date or a time. So I love Google Docs Forms. And then you get the responses back. And, that's what I was showing you, is I was showing you the backside with the responses with the graphs and everything. So I think that's really kind of cool. So that's a good piece of software. Again, SurveyMonkey's good. And if you know some other software, use that. It doesn't matter. Here's the next piece of action for you to do on this plan. I want you to make a 5-question survey and ask whoever's giving you their permission to mail them 5 questions that are going to help both of you. I want you to take this exact above idea, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and put it together so that you can ask a 5-question survey to the people that you serve and see what you get back. Now, listen, even if you send it out and your list is like, 1,000 people and only 10 people take a response, that's good. Start there. It's fine. That's 1% responding. That's pretty good. Out of the 36,000 people that received that survey, 642 people wrote back. So that's, let's see, 3,600, it would be 10%, 360 is 1%. So that's 2%. So I'm going to take that as a win. So there you go. Let's move on. We're going to talk about improving your offering. So there's a lot of reasons why people aren't buying from you. A lot of the top reasons why people aren't buying from you are maybe you're selling to the wrong people. Maybe you've packaged it wrong. Maybe you're explaining it wrong. Maybe you've priced it wrong, or maybe you're just not selling it enough. You're not putting out the sales as often. Or, and this is what I think a lot of people believe, your operations can't fulfill your promise. Okay, maybe. No one legitimately wants what you're selling. Also maybe. But what I think is more true more often is that you're selling to the wrong people, or you've packaged it wrong, or you've explained it wrong, you've priced it wrong, or you're not selling it enough. So here's what I think. So start with who. Who do you serve? Make a list of who could be buyers, and then pull from that the ones who match the most of these potential criteria. I know how to reach these people. These people would be willing to pay something for what I'm trying to sell them, and I know how to help them. That's who you want to serve to. You could have a really cool business idea that only is useful to people who own private jets, but if you don't know how to reach a bunch of people who own private jets, it's probably not a great business for you. Unless you can find a way to start getting invited to meet those people. Your goal is, how do you make your business work by connecting with the people that you know how to serve and the people you choose to serve, you would hope, and how do you help them? Now, This can be true. Like every time I talk about sales, if you bought this or if you're consuming this, but you still have a regular old day job and you're just serving the internal customer, you could change those same thoughts around. Every time I'm saying offering, it's what you deliver for those people. Do you know how to reach the people inside your business that you need to serve? Are these people willing to, quote, pay? Maybe that just means give you more attention and support for the project. Do you know how to help them? This is kind of, it relates to things beyond sales. And it's also important to know, knowing who you serve is going to really help you in all the other parts of your business. Again, if you don't know who yet, don't worry, it's okay. If you're kind of selling to everybody, you're just, Main Street USA or Main Street Hyderabad, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. Just realize that once you start to know a little bit better who your real customer is, who the real person you can help, then everything gets just a million times better. Hope the sun isn't wrecking this video too badly. I don't have the camera in front of me, so I can't see the reflection of me, but I'm like dodging blazing sunlight right now. Apologize for that. All right, now look at the packaging. What is the format of the offering? So when I say packaging, how are you selling what you sell? I've had people say to me, I sell coaching service, but no one's buying. And I say, oh, really? What do you sell? Well, I sell 1 year for $10,000. And I say, oh, great. And they say, do you think that's too much money? And I say, no, I think it's way too little money. And I also think that people don't necessarily know who you are and you're trying to sell them a year of coaching. That's like asking them to commit to 366 days of your, unprovenness. So maybe you've got to sell them a small project first. Maybe you've got to sell them a pilot coaching thing. Maybe you got to sell them a 4-week jumpstart, whatever it is. So first off, what's the format of your offering? How are you offering it? I'll give you another example, totally unrelated. Somebody told me that they had an ebook about how to get better with dealing with acne for teens. Well, teens, this is an American study, but U.S. people in general in America right now are reading no more than 48 minutes a year outside of like email reading and maybe a little bit of blog and newspaper reading. 48 minutes a year. So are they going to take those amazing 48 minutes and spend it reading your ebook on how to make your acne better if they're teenagers? I'm going to go with no. So what's the better format for that offering? Video. Small, simple, easy to consume video. What's a better format for you learning with me? Video with a download, right? Because you can just read this document and do along with that, but the verbal kind of helps. The visual somewhat helps if I weren't being blinded. So the format of the offering matters. Think about it, if you make an amazing candy bar, but then you put it in Ziploc bags and try to sell it to people, you sell somebody a chocolate bar in a Ziploc bag, no one's buying, right? So you do need some attention to sort of the look and feel and packaging and format of what you're offering. Brian Solis had a book come out. It's called X, The Experience When Business Meets Design. Totally great book, totally worthwhile. One of the things he did in publishing it is Brian decided that instead of making a book like all the typical books that are out there, he made it very visual. And he made it a horizontal style. It's very colorful. I can't believe how much Wiley must have spent to make this book because it looks like a whole bunch of slide decks just stuffed with all kinds of information. Now, some of the pages are real regular pages too, but the thing is just full of like chunky little information. And the reason he did that was because he's having a whole lot of people with attention deficit disorders and all kinds of people who have no time to read a book, who don't feel like they want to get through that kind of material. And now he's put it in a better format. How often would someone buy what you're selling? This is a challenge because I think, for instance, a lot of times in real estate, people think they're in the home selling business, but really they're in the referral business because you only sell one home, however many, to one person. That person's not going to buy a home from you again for another 15 or 20 years. So you want their experience to go so well that they're going to refer you some business, right? So you're kind of actually in the referral business and you earn that referral through incredible customer service and helping someone get the home that they really want. Someone's going to ask, what am I drinking? I'm drinking just some Starbucks coffee that I brewed myself at my house with, I think, a little bit of sugar-free hazelnut, fake cream stuff, chemicals. All right. What is the typical sales cycle? So, the question there is, how long does it normally take for someone to buy it? To buy this $20 plan, build a solid offering, that's not really a difficult sales cycle. We do a 1-week sales cycle for this kind of a thing. If it's something like a car or house, it's weeks, it's months, it takes a little bit more time. If you're doing business to business type stuff or a really complex project, I had somebody ask me the question, how do you make it so that you can sell to a really complex kind of a sale? And the answer to that is that you still have to block it all down and know the amount of time it's going to take and know the order. So that becomes part of the offering stuff too. If people aren't accustomed to buying something the way you sell it, then that means there's going to be more education involved. There's going to be a little bit more advocacy involved. You're going to have to explain it in such ways that people get what they're getting. For instance, Warby Parker. I sell eyeglasses online. Now, how crazy is that? Because, that's usually a very personal thing. You've got to sort of be there to see how they look on your face, et cetera, et cetera. Zappos, selling shoes with a really strong return policy because you never know until you get the shoe on. So why would you buy it on the web? So if you're selling something that's a little tricky to buy at a distance, for instance, you're going to want to look at how are people typically buying it and how do you defend against any of those kinds of fears. We were talking last night a little bit about the fact that, I could sell these kinds of videos and send you the DVDs and send you a 3-ring binder with all kinds of forms and details and other information. I could make all this data look a lot more, even though, ultimately if it's on about 12 or 13 typewritten pages, and you would pay $2,000 instead of 20. And believe me, people are selling a lot less information for a lot more money. But, the way I do it is I do it in a video download and I do it in a file that you could download anywhere on the web, because I want you to be able to grab this thing on your mobile device, on your tablet, wherever you happen to be, anywhere in the world that there's internet. If you don't have access to internet, get it to your device and then you never have to, look at it again, right? It's all good. Or you never have to go to the web to get it again. So how are you going to sell it? How's the product typically bought? And then what are some other similar to kinds of products? Everyone says, oh, my thing is totally unique. It usually isn't totally unique. It could be novel, but it's not usually totally unique. You could sell, you could sell hats for phones, and someone's probably already made hats for phones. You know what? Let's Google it together. Images.google.com. It's a great place to be. Hats for phones. Yep, there's some examples. There's little phones, hats you could put a phone into and whatever. And then there's an odd picture of a guy shooting a woman in the butt with a gun. I don't know what that's about, but evidently that came up for hats for phones. So there you go. There are products out there for everything. Now, how are you explaining what you offer? I'll talk a little bit about that in the sales copy section. And then how are you priced? We'll cover that in the pricing section. But let's get into it. Let's look at sales copy. I first have to tell you, I don't consider myself a great copywriter. In fact, I was told that I was a really bad copywriter. And so that made me start to improve on how I could write sales copy, because I could write business books really well, but that doesn't mean I'm a great sales writer. I think Dan Kennedy's a great sales writer. I think he's a great copywriter. You could learn a lot from his books. I think that Derek Halpern at socialtriggers.com is an incredible copywriter. And I think there's other people out there who do it great. But I've gotten a little better. So I'm going to show you a little of what I know. First and foremost, when I see people's sales stuff, I'm going to praise later Jeff Walker's product launch formula, but right now I'm going to trash the people who buy it and then are lazy with it. I see a lot of copy-paste sales copy out there. I see a lot of people just copying and pasting other people's exact words and dropping them into an email and lobbing them out at people, including me. And it's depressing because I feel like writing back every single time. And sometimes I actually have. I've said, we've all read Product Launch Formula. At least in my crowd, we all have read that book. So, or we've all been part of the course or whatever. So, don't product launch me, bro. But the thing is, the information that Jeff Walker sells is so totally worth it. It's just that you have to make it your own. So, steal from the best and then make it your own. Erica Napolitano has this thing called the CASE method, copy and steal everything. And you should totally do that. But you can't just copy paste it. It's got to be your own work. Write your own language in your own way. Also, some people say that brevity is the best way to sell. Small, short, brief, simple, to the point. Others say super long is the best way to sell. I say you got to make sure it's what covers your needs, and it's really important. So, for instance, I'll go back to start a podcast. My copy here is, a very short paragraph, a subheader, another short paragraph, another small paragraph, a picture of my human head. Aren't I attractive? Some bullets that show you what you're going to get. 4 more small paragraphs, and then 2 big old buy buttons that explain it. And so that'd be the deal. Oh, I just realized I got to change the sales copy on that. I will probably later. So, or I can probably change it. So that's the deal with that. So in this process, though, make your length of your sales copy exactly the link that needs to be. And I know that sounds like, a really facetious thing, but what I'm trying to say is don't follow someone's advice that it must be 3,000 words long or that it has to be 300 words long. Make it what sells and nothing more. Make it as brief as it can be and nothing more. If you need to add testimonials, add testimonials. If you don't. I don't on Started Podcasting. I do a little bit on 20-minute plan Jumpstart, and I have other projects where I think a testimonial is going to take away from the sales process. So that's what that will shorten or lengthen your sales letter. Also, sell from the buyer side. We already talked about that, but it's not about you, it's about them. So make sure people hear their story in your copy. You're looking to do this. You've struggled with this. You see yourself as needing to reach that next level, but in my Start Podcasting, what's the very first thing I said? Have you been thinking about starting a podcast? Boy, is that a great place to be in. But podcasting seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? I'm talking to them about their problem. Maybe you've been thinking about this, but you get bogged down in the mechanics. Perhaps you've even bought some gear, but you're stuck and not sure how to integrate it, blah, blah, blah. It's all you-based selling. I'm trying to make sure they see themselves in it. I've learned that my best way to write sales copy tends to follow a very similar format every time, and I'll share that now. So here's the format, and this again is something you should be copying down and making your own. And just grab the document. You can swipe this whole piece. Again, make it your own, but this is the sort of format that it follows. Is this your goal or outcome? There you go. So I asked the question, have you been thinking about starting a podcast? It's right up at the very top. Have you been thinking about starting a podcast? So you want to start with, what's the goal or outcome that the person needs? So you're a doctor, let's say, maybe you sell teeth whitening. Have you been feeling embarrassed about your yellowing teeth? Talk about punching someone in the belly. Have you been looking into teeth whitening? So that one's not so much a sales side one, is it? I mean, that's not a buyer side one. It's a sales side one. Have you been looking at teeth whitening? No. Are you embarrassed about your yellowing teeth? Yes. See? All right. But you're having trouble, blank. It's hard, blank. There's a steep learning curve, blank, whatever it might hold them back. So is this what you're trying to do? But is this holding you back? I will deliver the solution. Here's another place where people fall down a little. I always say, I can help, or I am here for you. And I state it. I clearly state the sentence. Let's go back to Start a Podcast and make sure I'm not a liar. We've got a simple plan for you. Join me. We'll do all this stuff. Yes, that's a lot to cover, but we can do this together. Get that podcast launched. My goal is to help you launch that podcast. See how that works? It's all into this. I will deliver the solution. Here is exactly what you get. Once again, here's all you're going to get. We're going to walk you through all the information, taking you through all of this, how to edit your podcast, how to host it, how to submit it to some platforms, 3 ways to make money with your podcast, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're trying to make sure they get exactly what they're going to get. In the, and I'm rewriting the 20-minute plan Jumpstart page, or I already did rewrite it. I explain in it, what you're going to get. You're going to get 4 modules. It's sort of like a mini course. You're going to get a video and PDF with each one. It's going to come out like this. There's a little private community, la, 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 la. And so in that process, what's going on is I'm selling you what exactly I'm selling you so that you can see what you're trying to buy. That way there's no question. There's no fear. I'm removing excuses. So then the very next part, let me remove any possible uncertainties you have. So I'm in there, yes, there's a lot to cover, but we can handle it. Make sure you download this thing so you're going to get information that you can download. Don't worry. Get that podcast launched. We will get that handled. So, again, I'm trying to make sure that, any worries are out of the way. Then after the excuse removal is done, buy this, please. Any guarantees I want to make, and then buy this, please. That's it. Not verbatim, but steal that all you want. Sales letters are a little different. I'll cover that a little bit in the launch template format. But in my sales letter, I do a very similar format, but with a slight structural variation. So first, I got a subject line that grabs people because I need to address their problem. One of the subject lines for this very specific Build a Solid offering back when I launched it was sharing a success story. That was very opened. That was a very opened letter. I was quite surprised because a lot of times negative letters are what are opened, Are you worried about your money for 2016? Blah, blah, blah. But I put out sharing a success story and people bought it. Paragraph 1, I'm a lot like you. Paragraph 2, but it doesn't have to be that way. Paragraph 3, here's a solution. Paragraph 4, join me and we'll handle this. Now, I had the question asked, and I'll show you in my launch process that it's very similar. My sales letter, my first sales letter, there's a series, and my sales page are usually very similar. So much so that we almost always use the copy the same for both. So if there's a typo, you'll find it in both places until someone's nice enough to tell us about it. So I will tell you that in this process, my next sales letters, I tend to switch right to this process of sort of, I'm a lot like you. So let's pretend I sell Spanish language tutoring. So it'd be like, is your kid struggling to get the grades they need in Spanish? That's the question. And then I'd say, that's my subject line. I would say, I'm a lot like you if you want, or you can say, Spanish is not an easy language if it's not your native tongue. There's a lot to be there's a lot that people get confused about, masculine and feminine forms of the words, et cetera, et cetera. Boy, I know what you're dealing with. If you think Spanish is tricky, you should see how hard English is, that kind of a thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. I've been teaching people and I can help your person, boy, have I got a great method. Here's the solution. And this is what you're going to get. This is how tutoring works, blah, blah, blah. Join me and we'll handle this. That's what you're working on. You're working on how do you phrase your stuff that way. So I want you to make a sample sales letter or a sample sales page or both for something you're doing. Even if you don't launch it to the outside world, you should totally consider doing it and then just sharing it with some people and see what they think. See if it makes a difference. So again, you have to adjust that to fit you. Also, check all the copy that you write on that sales page and all the copy you write in the letter for any defensive or, we called it earlier, confidence language. Check all your copy for any excessive explaining. Some people I know do a lot of excessive explaining. So they'll start to tell a story and they will tell a lot of details that have nothing to do with the actual point of the story. They're just trying to set the scene a little bit, but in a way that doesn't ever really help deliver the impact that they need to deliver, and in a way that loses their consumer of that information. Same is true with if you're selling something. If you put a lot too many words in front of someone, they're going to have a problem following it. Also, make sure you remove any jargon that makes it hard for someone to understand or see themselves in the offer. If people don't know the words you're using, they don't know that it's for them. So that's pretty important. Also, try to keep it as brief and clear as possible. And that's what I can tell you about sales copy for now. All right, pricing your offering. Cover sales again a little bit in 20-Minute Plan Jumpstart, which, by the way, part of what we're doing here is promoting that you should join 20-Minute Plan Jumpstart. And I've got a very special offer that will be part of this for the short term, and I'll tell you how to get involved in that. But owner.media/20MP Jump. This is a 4-module project that is going to, mini course really, not even a project, that's going to help you with putting more wins on your board. This is basically some systems that are going to help you get a lot more successful. We walk through the mindset that it requires and some of the actions it takes to kind of align everything in your goals to your larger life, how to put the right kinds of systems in place, including the 20-minute plan itself and the 351K part of the 20-minute plan. We talk about mortgage math and offerings, which is this build a solid offering is some of what we talk about in there as well. And then sales and marketing or love and science. Plus there's a little private community to join. So owner.media/20MP Jump is what you want to look at for that. All right, how do you price your offer? Well, here's honestly the part of this plan where it's a little hard for me to work with you because everybody's different. How do you price a house? That's very different. How do you price commodities? Very different. How do you price an information product? Most people just make it up. How do you price your services? Just had a call with a really good friend of mine, and he's getting ready to use the services of somebody who's going to help him put one of his courses online. And the price was quoted at something like $2,500 a month. I have another friend, Danny, who is selling an online course project that really the all-in number all the way through, if you did everything that he wanted you to do with him, is like $200,000. The real number that a lot of people would pay is somewhere in between. It could be from $10,000 to $40,000. Again, if they're expecting to get back $200,000. So how do we get there? How do we get these numbers? Well, first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what I know about pricing from my last handful of years of experience. First off, here's an interesting one that people ask me a lot, which is why are things $97 on the internet? And why that number 7? And there's this research that I'm not going to find for you right now that talks about, some magic about this and why the number 7, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what I do know for sure, that people do react to the difference between 97 and 100. And people most definitely react to the difference between 197 and 200. If you ask someone 197, what's the first thought that goes into their head? It's that costs about $100. Now, we see that it's $3 away from 200, but the difference between 197 and 200 is that people in their head somehow register that as $100. Now, we did sort of a reverse psychology on that very detail. We don't sell stuff for X $7 anymore. I mean, there might be some sales copy on one of my pages that does, but it's not up to date, that's for sure, because we sell stuff at really simple prices. Owner Unlimited, $20 a month. Owner Insider, $100 a month. And we tell people that's because we want you to know, and we want to make sure you know that that's one of those weird things that people do. It's people who are making pricing like that are not being deceptive, though. They're just putting out a price that they want to offer something at. And it turns out that that price does poke people psychologically into some different thought patterns, etc. So that's one to pay attention to. I can also tell you this, that the more complex the pricing model that you put together, the harder it is for your buyer to understand whether or not they should buy it. And that will wreck your sale right there. If people are like, I could buy it this way or that way, but I get it that, then whatever. I mean, I'll tell you a really simple example. I'm an Xbox guy. I'm playing video games. There's a Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege, and it's $59.99 or something like that, or it's $89.99 for the gold edition. So I'm talking to this guy online and I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's the difference? And he goes, gold gives you some more something or other in the game. And instead of a 10% bonus, you get a 15% bonus and whatever. And in the whole explanation, nothing sounded all that especially interesting why to buy the $89 one. By the way, as I was saying this out loud to you and I said 59 and 89, I was going to say to you, so it's weird because, you know, to me, there's like a big, not that big a jump in my head payment wise between $59 and $80. So in my head, I was already changing 89, which is 90, and 59, I left at 59. I was saying in my head, 50 to 80 is not big of a jump. 60 to 90 is $30 jump. 50 to 80 is $30 jump. But see, 59 to 80 feels like $20 jump. See how your head does what it does? So again, the end of that story though, is I bought the cheaper one because I almost bought nothing because I couldn't figure out why you'd buy, it just didn't make sense. The offer didn't make sense and they didn't explain it in a way that made it clear. So they lost some of my money, which I'm glad for. All right. So that's, I also know the more complex the pricing, the worse it's going to be. I will tell you that payment plans can and do help people. We started offering payment plans when our courses, now called projects, went up around $500. So we made stuff like 2 easy payments or sometimes 3 easy payments. That helps. It's a little bit more technology on your side to do that. It's not super tricky, but you know, you could use something like Stripe or PayPal Plus. It's built right into Rainmaker. But that can be really helpful if the product's conducive to that kind of option. Obviously, mortgages have a payment plan. Discounting and repeated discounting, though, I'll tell you, has trained people not to buy instead of helping people choose to buy. So what we learned is that when we start offering discounts all the time, people would say, I'm just going to wait for the discount. Or you stopped selling the discount, I'm going to wait again until you handle the discounts again. We stopped. So instead, we have pricing that's going to be like, it's only going to go up from here. So I'll give you an example, 20-minute plan jumpstart, owner.media/20MP jump. We launched that at $100. So if you buy this right now, it's $100. We also show you that in this process, you could get this once for $100, or you can join Owner Insider and get a lot more opportunities and value out of that, including all the other stuff that we offer. So right there, though, it's going to go up. So it's going to make this page a little less obvious for a second because it's going to say $200 here. And then it's probably eventually going to say $400 because I just keep adding stuff to it. So when you look at what we offer, what I tell people is get this now because the price is going to go up. And so that's the sort of scarcity that some people, oh, this sale ends. The sale is not ending. There wasn't a sale. Instead, I'm saying the price is going to go up because we're going to add value to this and make it so that it's worth a lot more, and we're going to charge more for it in the process. So you can look at that same kind of model yourself. In our company, what we do is all the previous buyers get their upgrades for free. So that's kind of a really neat option too. So we can say to people, hey, buy it at the $100. And as you know, it's going to go up and up. You're going to get a really good deal. We did that with Online Course Maker. We launched Online Course Maker and sold it to a select group of people for $100. Then we sold it to the public for $200. And then we turned it up to $400 really quickly. Because we just put so much into it, and then we made it $500 really quickly. So somebody bought that at $100 and somebody bought it at $500. Truth is, it's very worth it at $500, but if you bought it at $100, you feel pretty damn smart. Next detail, price anchoring works. If you've got 3 things on your page, and it should never really be more than 3 things unless you're some kind of e-commerce site, but if you've got 3 things on your page and one's $50, one's $100, and one's $500, most people are going to check out the $100 offering. The reason is because of that thing I was doing with the 59 and the 89. We sort of look at one price, we see that this price is more, we say, I probably don't need that. That's the first thing we say when we see that higher price. I probably don't need all that. There's rarely a time where we're like, I need the whole enchilada. Unless you know ahead of time. You love something. If you want the VIP experience when you go to see Pearl Jam or something, then you want to buy the best one you can buy. When you're looking for airline seats, you kind of start with, I just don't want to pay a ton, and then you buy the $49 even more legroom or whatever. So price anchoring works. More than a few, like 3 or so prices on a page, really confuses people and they won't buy. It's really hard to know what the market will bear. And a lot of people price things way too low. I told you about Derek's friend who has that whole business right now where he's selling he's going to put together your online course for you for only like $2,500. I'm making that guy change it to $5,000 because that's the right number. You're going to put out something that's going to be so much work to build for one thing, but it's also going to be like, $60 to $100 to $200,000 worth of yield. He should get $5,000 for it. But that's hard to understand. What does the market bear? There's always someone who's going to do something cheaper than you. That's not the way to price yourself. Never price yourself on, well, this guy does it cheaper. Lots of people sell their speaking cheaper than me. There's a lot of people who sell it for more than me. When someone says, I'm not paying your price, I say, great. Bill Clinton charges an extra $0 on my price. You could absolutely get him. And I say that a lot of my colleagues charge half of what I charge. So go get them. You don't want business that you don't want. That's okay. Life's going to be okay that way. I will tell you that what I do take into consideration is past sales data from my list. If you've got that, if you know what people have paid before, then you get a sense of when, something makes sense. There's a reason why we sell our plans at $20. It's because $20 is the new free. $20 is discretionary for most of you. There's very few people on this call, watching this video who are saying, oh, I'm just like, I'm going to have to sell a kid because I spent $20. Unless you're somewhere else. I have people I have a lot of people in Africa who connect with me. And in Nigeria, $20 is a lot of money right now, $20 US. I have people in Greece who are having that problem. They're just like, I just can't buy your stuff right now. And I say, I love you. I love your salad. I'm joking. Don't worry about it. But if you need it, you'll find a way. If this is going to help you make more money with your offering, and I give you, here's the perceived applied value of the purchase. If you spent $20 on this, but you make $2,000 out the other end, that's a pretty good win, right? That's adding 2 zeros to what you just did. Any problem areas with low pricing also triggers a quality fear. You don't buy a $2 steak in a $30 hotel room and think that either one's going to be quality, right? You got to make sure that if you're trying to sell something that's supposed to be quality, that the prices should be higher. That's one complaint a lot of my friends make, is that the pricing should be a lot higher on what I sell because there's a perception that I'm maybe selling to a smaller group of people. So that's interesting. Oh, it's really kind of funny. Remember I said I'm working on updating the sales page? Rob did it while we were talking. So look at that. Pretty. Little plain, but we do our stuff plain. Very pretty. All right. Let's go back to business here. We're still on pricing. $20 and $2. Yeah. So make sure your pricing is, not going to trigger a quality concern. And you know what I'm talking about. My friend Tim, just moments ago, I was looking on Instagram and he put up a video that said, quick photo that said rabies shot, $10. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want a giant sign on the street that says rabies shot, $10. That's terrifying. I think I'd probably get rabies if I bought that shot. So you got to look at pricing that way as well. You also need to understand a little sense of, unit costs. What's the labor? What's the perceived savings? I can't tell you how many people tell me that they're selling some service at, $20 an hour kind of rate. And then what they forget is that they didn't put in their labor costs. So they're actually working for free pretty much. When you're selling something like a piece of jewelry, there's someone out there that's going to sell the piece of jewelry cheaper. There's someone who's going to sell it for more. And even, if you show up at a craft fair and your stuff costs a lot more than other people, there's only 2 ways you're going to perceive it. Wow, this must be really good, or you're in the wrong place. If you're in the wrong place, don't go to that craft fair anymore. And wow, this is perceived as really good, then you're going to do really well. Last point of data on this, sometimes pricing is a guess. It's just got to be. Sometimes we just put a price out there and people buy it or people don't. Sometimes people say that's a lot too much money. Or sometimes people just don't buy the offer. Don't immediately think that price is the reason why someone says no. Don't immediately discount things because someone doesn't buy. There's a lot of reasons people don't buy that have nothing to do with the price. I can tell you multiple times I've bought something that the price wasn't a really good price for me, but I wanted the thing. Other times I've bought something that was very inexpensive because it was exactly what I needed. I think this thing costs like, I don't know, $11 maybe US. And I don't know what the market is. I don't know if I got ripped off and I should have got it for $5. I don't know if I should have paid $100 and I'm amazed I got it for $11. I don't care. But I know that the number was great when I pushed the send button that came 2 days later. Thank you, Amazon. And that's all I needed to know. So there we go. Now, upgrade paths for products and services. Some people are trying to figure out what do we do once we get someone to buy one time. What are those ways? So first, I came up with this analogy that when I'm reading it now, I'm kind of like, why did I go through all these words? But I'll tell it to you kind of quick. The idea is that, the evolution of humankind, we started by just hunting and finding food and then eating it. And everybody had to hunt and eat, right? Some people got some sharing, but if you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. Then we had this situation where others would hunt, but others would make things. Maybe I can't hit the side of a barn with a spear, but I'm really good at, chiseling flint to make spearheads. So you'll give me some of the meat because I'm going to give you better spears than the other guys. Then we started to grow our food, and that was great. And then others started growing our food, and then we would make things and share with the people that were growing the food, right? So this is where commerce starts happening. This is where marketplace happens. We start opening markets, we start building restaurants, and then think of what grocery stores have done lately. Grocery stores have a lot of pre-made food. My little mom and pop here sells everything like rotisserie chickens. It's a little tiny grocery store, but they sell rotisserie chicken. They sell tuna fish that they made, with their mayonnaise instead of my mayonnaise, and some stuff like that, because people, instead of just do it yourself, we've kind of moved to this, let me do that for you. So one of your first options for upgrade paths is that a lot of times people are selling, here, you go do this, when they should be considering selling, here, let me do this for you, or I've done this for you already, level of delivery. In my business, so I sell information basically, right? So when I'm selling you this build a solid offering, what I'm saying is I know some stuff and I'm going to teach you so that you don't have to go trial and error a couple of years worth of mistakes the way I did. I'm going to give you everything that I learned along the way. So in that process, you're paying me for a quick jump in knowledge. So people say to me sometimes, why is a video and a downloadable file $20? I could buy a book for $20. And I say, what do you think you're buying when you buy a book for $20? Do you think the paper costs $20? People ask that question all the time. Why is a digital download $10 or $20? I think knowledge is grossly underpriced more often than not because no one knows what to do with it and they just give it away anyway. But if I could teach you something, I charged you $1,000, but you made $10,000 doing it, you made 10 times the money doing it. So with regards to your upgrade path, teaching someone something is still saying, here, go do it. Unless, in my case, what I've done is I've said, I've done this learning for you. Now I'm just going to give you the information. In your business, what could you be doing for people, or what could you be adding on to the process to help people get a little bit further ahead? What can you give them in the process that's going to eliminate some more of their frustration, and it's going to make it easier for you to buy without going crazy, without saying, I'm going to take on all this extra work and now I have no time for my family. That's not what we're looking to do. All right. So other ways to look at upgrade paths. This is, again, some action for you to consider doing. In a lot of cases, a lot of times you can offer something baseline and then do some kind of an upgrade level. So for instance, when I started speaking in the early days, when I got up to the highest point of my speaking fee, it was between $22,000 and $25,000 US every speech. Now that's gone down a little bit because of the market, because I'm not the hot commodity I used to be, I guess. I don't know. But the market has changed a great deal. It's now baseline of $15,000 US. It's a little more overseas because of business travel and all that. But it's $15,000, but that's just me doing a speech coming and going. And if you want me to do a book signing and a night before dinner and all that kind of stuff, I add that on. So it's baseline plus, right? So we have Owner Unlimited. If you're watching this because you're part of Owner Unlimited, you give me $20 a month, you get access to all our plans. If you're Owner Insided, you give me $100 a month. You get this and projects and the private groups and all this other great stuff. And that's why you do that. So that's, one way to do upgrades is have one price and then a next price. You can also have a one-off, or you can sell a series on something or some kind of ongoing service. So for instance, Owner Unlimited is a subscription service. Owner Insider is a subscription service. You could have Toy of the Month boxes. Gift boxes is such a great business. Lori Peters, who was on the call last night, is someone who's doing a lot in the gift box space. You should also read John Warrillow's book, The Automatic Customer, which is a really great book. I just realized I have it sitting right here beside me. I love this book. Hey, and I didn't realize that a whole bunch of my friends signed the back of this. Chris Gillibo, Jay Bear, Vern Harnish, John Jantz, and Bob Berg. How come I didn't sign the back? John Warlow. Maybe he asked and I forgot. You can also, sell a do-it-yourself version and a guided version. A friend of Jacqueline's is doing some kind of coaching and getting your business put together kind of coaching, and she offers you go do all this stuff, and another one where it's like, we'll get together in groups. Insider is like that. Insider has a little private Slack group where we can message each other back and forth and see how it's going. You could sell real-time versus recorded. Sometimes that's really important. Some people want the live version. Some people would pay more for the recorded version. I make that all the same. Also, you can sell, service contracts, maintenance options, retainers, that sort of a thing. And those are some really good opportunities too. So make sure you look at that too, is, what other things can you be adding to make it useful to people? Not to make more money. What else can you take off people's plates? And then you should charge to add value in that way. There's a quick history of my sales methods in here. I started with Blog Topics, where I was selling a $10 a month type option. Then I moved to Blog Topics, the Master Class, which is a multi-week course, which was more. And that's when we learned how to start doing payment plans. We did webinars with $0 and we'd get 0 attendees. We started charging $20 for our webinars and we'd average 500 to 800 attendees every time. We switched that to plans when we launched Owner Unlimited. We did courses around $500-ish, but maybe launched at $200 and add until they're worth $500 to $700. Then we did courses with payment plans. Then we did Unlimited and Insider as ongoing subscriptions like Netflix, and that's really worked well. Now, the next thing we're offering, and it hasn't launched as the time of hitting record, but it'll be very shortly, is our affiliates are going to sell our courses outright. We're going to sell the subscriptions to Unlimited and Insider, meaning that you could buy or earn more customers, but we're going to ask you to go look at our affiliates who sell it instead of us, because we want them to have the opportunity to make some money. So that's one of our ways of kind of, helping promote and give back and all that sort of thing. Next up, we're going to talk about launch templates. This will be getting close to the end of this process, but these are some ways that you can start to think of launching your offer. And I steal heavily from Jeff Walker's book, Launch, but also talk about how we've done it the way we do it as well. We are down to the wire here. We're talking about launch templates. So here's what I want to tell you a little bit about this. This is kind of specific to online products like courses and ebooks, but I could tell you that a lot of this would work for offline materials as well. One of the things I could tell you is that, getting people into your sales cycle, even if your sales cycle is an offline kind of experience, still can happen online. I've shown lots of people how to get this done. I can talk to you about your specifics. One thing I always want you to know, and I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, so I hope you're still being very attentive. You can always direct an email to me, chris@owner.media, and ask me any questions based on this plan. You didn't just get this plan. You always have access to me directly, and you always can ask me the questions you need. If it flips way too deep into coaching or something like that, or consulting, I'll let you know. But ask me questions. It's part of what you bought. Okay. So I did mention that we talk about the fact that Jeff Walker's book Launch is a really great way to start looking at his product launch formula. He offers a course. It's like a couple $1,000, I think. Definitely worth it. The course is so worth it. There's a lot of great information and he's got a great community built around it and he's helped lots of people with it. What I learned after launch is that there's a lot of people who could do a lot of copy pasting and there's a lot of people who kind of do poorly what Jeff does very well. And so what I want you to think of is I used it as a starting point and then I learned some stuff too. So here's how we do a typical launch and I'll walk you through it and then I'll give you a quick checklist. So we build the offering, which is a little weird, but we actually have something to sell before we sell it, which some of these processes teach you how to ask people some questions and see if people maybe want to buy something, or how to test things with Google's keywords and see if someone wants to buy it. I don't believe in that process. I believe that you help people with a solution that you know that they're going to want. And the way you know that they're going to want it is you communicate with people enough ahead of time that you really get a sense of what challenges they're facing versus letting them try to validate what they think you want to hear. So that's how I look at that. So we build the offering. Then we write the first sales letter, which is usually kind of the longest. And then we create the sales page rough from that sales letter. They're usually quite similar. I mean, when I wrote the sales letter that just became the 20-minute plan jumpstart page, I wrote this, just in a Word document, well, Google Docs, but, in a document. And then it turns into this with, a couple buttons, a couple segments, etc. And we make sure that people understand what they're getting. And we go from there. So after you write the first sales letter, you turn your sales page together. That, by the way, is created in Rainmaker. And it looks a little weird on, this big screen. But if you look at it on a mobile device, it's sweet looking. All right. And then what we do is we create the sales page rough, then write content emails that are helpful, but that have a gentle push. We write a couple of last call emails. I've been calling it first last call and last call, which evidently Alan Jackson thought was funny. But it's oxymoronic, but it makes sense to us. And then we promote via social channels a little bit, but not very much. And I'll talk to you briefly about that. We found that we've had some help by taking our email list and throwing it into Facebook ads and bouncing it only off people that have their Facebook account is the same as the email they've given us. And that's given us a little boost in sales, but not horrendously much. So you could try it, you could test it. There's people like John Loomer who might know a little bit more about how to sell on Facebook. His name is Jon Loomer, Loomer. So here's a template. Again, this is work for you to do. You cannot just watch this video and listen to me and glance through this page and be smarter out the other side. These are projects for you to do. This little plan is full of little things that you've got to take off. So let's start here. Which offering are you selling? This assumes that you've done all this stuff above the page too. Then write a starting sales letter. Second, write your sales landing page, which again is, ripped off a bit from your sales letter. Now, write 2 or 3 content pieces, or maybe some audio and video stuff that's going to help people succeed whether or not they purchase the offering, but gently mention the offering. So look at the example here. Build a Solid Offering is a $20 plan in which I'm trying to show you some information that I think is going to help you, but I'm also promoting that I want you to buy the 20-minute plan Jumpstart. So I built a plan that has great content in it that you can then do stuff with, but I'm also saying, if you liked this, you're going to love Jumpstart. So you can do the same sort of thing, not if you're not an information business, but there's other ways that you can implement what I'm talking about right now, where you want great content that's going to help people in some way, whether or not they buy what you sell. So if you sell, maybe you're a seller's agent for real estate. So in selling people's houses, you do little video walkthroughs. Maybe you do a 5-part series on how to get your house ready to sell. Take all the books off the shelf and put these up instead, whatever. You want something that's going to help people whether or not they choose to buy you, and then you're going to gently point them to the option to spend their time with you. Right. And then so we do 2 or 3 of those kinds of content pieces. And then we write a gentle but very sales related last call earlier in the day. And then we send a last call a little later in the day. Set up that program and go. So I will tell you that my sequence for my business is very basically a 7-day online launch sequence. And here is what it's like. Now, the days of the week do not matter in this. The days of the week do not matter. These are our days of the week. But whatever, this is how it goes in 7-day sequence. On Tuesday, we send a sales letter. The sales letter is the big long one. It's not super long. It's as long as it needs to be, etc. Now, Thursday, we send content that has sort of a gentle push reminding you that there is a sales offer. Sunday, I write my newsletter. That is my content plus a gentle mention. Oh boy, I just shook the whole page here. And then on Sunday, I write that. And then Tuesday, which is a week after the first sales letter, we write the last call, which is content, but a little bit more sales minded. And there's, it takes a little practice to get at this, but that's, steal my stuff. You've got my emails in your box. Look at how I do it. And then Tuesday of that same afternoon or evening, we have our last call. And then that's the last time we're going to push you to try to buy that. That's our 7-day sequence. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so emails, sometimes a few more emails. And that's it over 7 days. So that can be a lot. And some people, I watch people sell to me every single day by barraging me, just burying me in email. And that just makes me unsubscribe. The only few people that have escaped the unsubscribe that are doing that still are a couple of my really close friends or friends that I like to keep close eye on. Again, don't copy the days of the week, copy the format. Now, what if you sell something expensive or complicated? Clay A. Bear once told me that if something's a little bit more money or it's a little more challenging to sell, you need a little bit more of than 7 days to sell it. So let's say we did a 4-week process. Here's how I would spend those 4 weeks. Week 1, I would have 1 day of the week with a content letter and 1 day of the week with a sales letter. So 2 emails in week 1. Week 2, I might do a content only letter, no sale at all. Week 3, I might do content and sales again. Week 4, I'd push that last call and last call. Now, template number 2. What if you wanted to use content marketing as a sales launch tool? Content marketing like blogging, podcasting, video, Blab. As I'm talking to you, I'm getting invited to go to some Blab to watch Joel Comm talk to Jay Baer. Here's what I would do. Same stuff as the first part. Build your offering, write your first sales letter, create the sales page. Now, create a piece of media like a podcast episode or 2 or 3 or a video series or live video or a webinar or whatever you're going to do, or 5 email list or PDFs, whatever. Create some great media that promotes the newsletter or your list or a sequence that's not the sale itself, meaning promote something to get them into the idea of what you're offering, and then promote the on-ramping media instead of the sale. So try to get people to this media that you've created instead of the sale, but in that media, make the sale, make the offer. So then you're going to enter that sales cycle the way we explained it above. Does this all make sense? So let's pretend you're selling how to start your internet video empire with live video streaming. Holy crap, a lot of people tried to do that. I think it's baloney. But that's just me. A lot of people think it's amazing. All right. So I'm Chris Brogan, and I'm going to teach you how to set up your home system for doing video streaming absolutely free. I'm going to give you a 4-part series of videos on how to make really cool live videos, including stuff like using a tripod so you don't make people sick with your wobbly videos. Join me. Come to chrisbrogan.com/some URL I'm just going to make up and check it out. And so from there, I get them into a sequence where they're doing something they want live. It's going to be good. It's free. It's fun, whatever. And in the process, I say, I sell a bigger project on how to do this, really deeply and how to make money from it and, how you're going to, quit your day job, blah, blah, blah. And you should take a look at it, blah, blah, blah. Here's version 2. I want you to take a look at it. By the way, in our larger thing, here's what we do. That's what I did with this. Build a solid offering. I've promoted a 20-minute plan jumpstart. I want you to go to owner.media/20mpjump and check this out. If you're not sure what I just said, just hit reply, send the email that I sent you, and I'll help you. All right. So then once you promote that, you're dealing it. All right, last few things, challenges you might face, and then I'm going to offer you to send me an email, chris@owner.media, with any questions. Your product requires face-to-face demonstration? Great. Use the online tools to help earn the right to offer that demo. Get people interested in you and what you offer via the web. Get people into your list. Get people interested in what you stand for and how you help them thrive, and then get them to say they want the demo. Create useful content that explains the challenges your product solves, and then earn the right to give them that demo. Your product is very complex. I had an email that said, government regulation has to be involved, all kinds of crazy stuff to sell it. Great. Create tools that build up education and remove the excuses and hurdles wherever you can. Give them checklists, preparation guides. Explain with content and media as much as possible about what you're delivering and how they can get the most out of it so that they feel like they're supported and that you've taken the work out of it for them. Remember that no one wants what you're selling sometimes. That's great. Stop selling it. If no one wants it, nothing in the universe says you've got to sell something if it's crap. You're totally safe. All right, whatever challenges you have, I want you to send them to me. And chris@owner.media, just send the email. I'm glad to talk to you about this. Thank you again. One last time, I'm promoting 20-minute plan jumpstart. Go to owner.media/20mpjump. And I want you to get involved in this. It's $100 right now. It will be going up to $200, and it might go up as high as $500 as I add in some stuff that I think would be really helpful. The project, 20-minute plan jumpstart, which is a mini project. It's like a 4-week course. Don't get more done, get the right stuff done. I found a solution, and it's simple, but it's not easy. It was this 20-minute plan. So ask yourself if any of these resonate with you. I want to make a few extra $1,000 a month in 2016. I want to finally launch that project that I've been putting off. I bet you have one of those. I had a woman talk to me today. She just launched her podcast a couple months ago. She's been wanting to do it for 4 years. She just missed 4 years of practice. I want more time to spend with my family and loved ones. Boy, sure do I. I'm tired of feeling so rushed with nothing to show for it, and I need to find my next level. If you said yes to any of that, then this is what the 20-minute plan jumpstart is. I'm not going to read the rest of it. There's 4 modules in it. It's really good stuff. Dig in with me. Come to owner.media/20mpjump and grab this plan for $100 until we bring it up to $200. I'm Chris Brogan. Thank you so much for your time. This has been Build a Solid Offering. This is something that we cover a little bit more in a 20-minute plan. Jumpstart, but this was a much deeper dive on this. So you got very exclusive information that I'm grateful that you picked up with me. Thank you so much for being part of this. Again, any questions, drop me a line, chris@owner.media. Ciao, Bella.